Towson, if you love the dropping of the puck, the chasing of the chalice, the hunt for Lord Stanley's goblet, and the Stanley Cup may come to Washington, but there are 4 series between now and there, and Ed Frankovic is here to break all of them down as we finally have come to the end of this season, and lo and behold, the Caps are President's Trophy champions, and lo and behold, it will be the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. I know you are celebrating that, but I'll tell you what, Ed, if I'm up at the ACC in Toronto early next week for games 3 and 4, that's going to be something for the Capitals to have to go into the center of the hockey universe and exercise some of those demons up there, right?
Yeah, I think if there's any team equipped to handle the media circus that this will be, I think it's the Capitals. Everywhere Alex Ovechkin goes, it's a media circus because he's a rock star. Let's be honest. He is the one of the biggest players in the game. Him and Crosby. Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, the 2 biggest players in the game. So I think this organization is used to the media circus, and certainly last season playing the Penguins in round 2, they certainly experienced it. They've experienced it several times, and I think the pressure of the media spotlight is more on the Toronto Maple Leafs than the Washington Capitals, at least in this first round.
Well, you love this matchup, and, I was talking to a friend of mine who's not a hockey guy at all and said, well, what difference does it make? Ottawa, Boston, Toronto? I said, well, not really for the Caps because they beat the snot out of Toronto last week. They beat the snot out of Boston over the weekend in a game that Boston needed a whole lot more than they did, quite frankly. It looked as though the Caps were going to draw Boston, and sort of miraculously on Sunday night, the Maple Leafs backed themselves with a bad third period into this matchup. I mean, the Maple Leafs had Ottawa all drawn out, and that would have been a hell of a border war up there. And instead, the Toronto Maple Leafs really fell into a bad spot with this Capitals matchup, right?
Yeah, I think they definitely would have rather played Ottawa than have to play the Caps. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, who had lost 6 games in a row, awoke, and scored 3 goals, and certainly that helped get them some confidence going into their big series with Pittsburgh. But, I think the Capitals match up well against any of these 3 teams fairly well. Ottawa likes to slow the game down, but they were out of the equation by the time Sunday night rolled around. It was either going to be Boston and Toronto, and both Boston and Toronto have some big injuries on defense, and the Leafs lost one of their better defensemen on Sunday night in Zaitsev. And, the Bruins had lost Torrey Krug last week, their best offensive defenseman, and then Carlo gets hurt in the game on the Ovechkin hit. So both teams are weak on defense, and I really think defense is the key to the playoffs. You have to have some depth back there, and that really hurt the Capitals last year with the Orpik injury and suspension and Alzner with the groin, and I think the Capitals are better positioned. And, they won the Jennings Trophy by a good margin this year, and they had won the Jennings Trophy since 83-84, and I really think that the Capitals' game stems, when they play their best, stems from playing well on their own end. So I really think the Capitals match up well against this Leafs team because they're not strong on the defense, and I think that's where the Capitals, if they defend well and prevent odd man rushes, I think they're going to have a big advantage on the Leafs. And yeah, the Leafs are fast, but the Capitals have some fast players too.
I'm going to ask this of everyone that I talked to this week and, getting up on. Is it important that they do fast work here? I mean, to me, it's imperative that they win both games at home this week and go up there and try to get this thing done in 5, right? I mean, ideally, that's a perfect number, thinking you may slip up there, and that's not going to be an easy pathway going up there into a hockey-crazed environment, as we've talked about. But if it's 0-2 going in, that's where it kind of needs to be. They can't stumble in game 1 or 2, Ed. I mean, and I know we talked to head coach Trotz about this a couple weeks ago up at Greenmount Station, but, this is the time where you start to bite the nails, and, every shift takes on a whole different level of opportunity, I think.
I think it's very important to win the series quickly, and because as Strotz told us up at Greenmount Station there about a month ago, every series the other team takes a piece out of you. And if you can get out of the series in 4 or 5 games, then you're not as banged up. And I really felt like the Flyers took several pieces out of the Capitals last season, and that hurt them going into the Penguins series. And Trotz said as much. And the Penguins had a very easy, non-physical series against the Rangers, and where the Capitals had to play, Braden Shen and Radko Gudas, these guys that hit you after the whistle, and Simmons, they'll take some cheap shots at you. that's another reason I wanted to play the Leafs. Now the Leafs do have Matt Martin and some other guys like Roman Pollock, but if you can get up on the Leafs 2-0, the heat of the Toronto media will really get on. Especially if Austin Matthews is held off the score sheet. This kid was playing. You got to think about it. This kid 1 year ago was playing in Switzerland, waiting to be the number one pick in the draft, and now he's going to go play Alex Ovechkin and Nicholas Backstrom and Braden Holtby and these seasoned veterans of the Capitals in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest. The Leafs have had a great season. They were the worst team in the league last season, and now they're going to go face the Capitals. There's a lot of the Capitals have the potential, if they can get up on them quickly, to extinguish them quickly, because I think the Leafs are already happy with the season they've had.
I'm hoping for a 3-game sweep, but I know that's impossible. He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow him out on Twitter at Ed Frankovic for all things Caps. He was down at the phone booth on Sunday night talking to some players, and the Shattenkirk thing, that's going to be the straw that stirs the drink for the trading deadline, and if they win the Cup, I'm sure he'll get a lot of credit for that. Although, McClellan and Trotz should get credit all the way around, everybody in the organization, if they wind up drinking out of the goblet 8 weeks from now. But, this thing beginning for a guy like Shattenkirk coming in, and for several of these players, maybe Oshie and some others, this might be their last rodeo. This is a chance for them to win a cup and go out and probably make themselves a lot of money this summer somewhere else, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt this team is not going to be together next season. They just can't keep it all together, and who they decide to keep depends on what happens in the spring. But when we had Coach Trotz out at Greenmont Station, he talked about how Shattenkirk had a big transition coming from a system in St. Louis where they sit back a bit with their defense, and his system is, get up on there, get up on the be up on the forwards and pressure the other team in their own zone. And I got a chance to spend about 5 minutes with Kevin after Sunday night's game, and he's thrilled. He's really happy to be playing in this system. He says it definitely fits his skill set better. It keeps him on his toes. He feels like in Trotz's system, you're defending more going forward, and that better fits his skill set. He also likes the fact that he gets to play with Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin on the power play, and he told me, hey, it took him 3 or 4 games to figure out, hey, I got to shoot the puck every now and then, because it's not just setting up Ovechkin for one-timers, because if I'm doing that, then it doesn't keep the defense honest. And he said, after about 3 or 4 games, he realized, I've got to get the puck on net and let Oshie and Johansson down low do their thing. And I think that's when you saw the Capitals' power play really take off, once Shattenkirk started to feel comfortable. So he's extremely happy. He feels like, they have 3 good defensive pairs, and they could just roll them 20, 22 minutes a game and keep everybody fresh, and that allows them to play faster. And we've heard about the Capitals talk about playing faster ever since that loss to Pittsburgh last year. And bringing him in certainly has allowed Coach Trotz to really keep that system at high throttle.
Ed, for you, an ideal matchup as you see it? I mean, you got to play somebody that had 80 points, right? I mean, I don't know what would be ideal. I think the one ideal thing for the Capitals for me is they are healthy. I mean, everything we talked to Coach Trotz about a month ago, to lining this thing up, to winning the President's Trophy, to having to play sort of down to the end as they did through the week this week, that it was a tougher road because of the California struggle they had 5 weeks ago now. But, things are lined up. If it doesn't go perfectly, it won't be for lack of planning, right?
No, and they've gone 11-2-1 down the stretch, and you can throw this loss on Sunday night just out the window, because it was like one of my Hockey North America games back in the early 90s. Nobody hit anybody, so it wasn't really even hockey. But Daniel Winnick talked about how that 4-game losing streak, and you and I talked about that afterwards. Maybe it's the best thing for him, and he definitely said that on Sunday night. He said, look, that 4-game losing streak got us back, got us refocused, got us realizing what we needed to do, and I think that they're playing better defense. Since the Arizona debacle, they have really limited odd man rushes. They've been focused on their defensive posture, and Winnick said, hey, our offense comes from our defense. When we play well in our own zone and don't give the other team odd man rushes, we have a big advantage because we can roll 4 lines and we're deep and we can play fast. And I really think that's where they want to be. If they can stick to their system and not make those offensive zone blue line turnovers. That was another thing Winnick pointed out to me following the game on Sunday night. He says, when we turn the puck over at the offensive blue line, that's when we get in trouble, and other teams have odd man rushes on us, and that's when they find the back of our net. If we limit those, we are a much better team. So I really think that's going to be the game plan. What they've been doing recently, early in games, throwing the puck deep, letting Ovi hit guys, letting Tom Wilson hit guys, putting the pressure, Oshie winning the board battles. That's where they can really get the other team on their heels, and that's going to be imperative against the Leafs because their defense is very green back there. They got Connor Carrick, who was playing in Hershey a little over a year ago. He's now in their top 6. So I really think that if they can get the pucks deep and make that Leaf defense work, that's going to be to their advantage.
Capitals taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Elsewhere in the Eastern Conference, it's Pittsburgh and Columbus, and the Caps would get the winner of that series. So, thinking that if you get through Toronto and you look ahead, you get Pittsburgh or Columbus. The other bracket has Montreal and the Rangers. That'll be a glory series for the NHL. And Ottawa and Boston, not a bad matchup on the other side of the bracket as well. And Ed, thoughts about Pittsburgh or Columbus at this point, and maybe even down the line, who would come out of that North side? I know it's hard to not like the winner of the Canadiens or the Rangers series. That's a hideous first-round matchup, right, for both of those franchises.
Yeah, you're going to take one of the best goalies in the league out in the first round between Henrik Lundqvist or Carey Price. I like some of the moves that the Canadiens made, and I like the way they're playing. I haven't liked what's going on with the Rangers. I mean, they have rested a lot of guys. They haven't played a meaningful game in a while. Another thing Daniel Winnick mentioned to me Sunday night after the game was it's important to play well down the stretch, and he noted some teams that he was on that didn't play well down the stretch, not just the Capitals last season, but he was on a Penguins team that limped into the playoffs, and says they got beat pretty badly by the Rangers in the first round a couple of years ago. So he was on an Anaheim team that kind of limped their way in, and they just didn't find any success either. So the Rangers have been struggling. I think it's going to be hard for them to turn it on. It's hard to flip the switch, and the Capitals tried to do that last year, and we saw they had some pieces taken out of them from the Flyers as much as they dominated that series, and it just didn't have anything for the Penguins. So I really think the Canadiens are going to beat the Rangers. The Ottawa-Boston series, I mean, Boston hasn't beaten Ottawa all season, but you throw that out. But the fact that Boston's so banged up on the back end, and Ottawa just plays that boring game, and Ottawa is also pretty fast, I really think you're going to see Ottawa-Montreal second round up there. Now, Pittsburgh-Columbus, it's hard to go against the defending champs. I just like the way they're playing. I mean, no Chris Letang hurts.
Columbus has had a hell of a year. I mean, when we've seen them play, they're a very credible team, man.
Yeah, I mean, and you mean Pittsburgh or Columbus?
Columbus. I'm impressed by Columbus. Every time I've seen them play this year.
Yeah, they're very structured. John Tortorella, we know what he does. They like to play defense. They like to block shots. He's got a great goalie, and Sergei Bobrovsky. It's like playing the Rangers a couple years ago. That's what you're going to get. And Pittsburgh's going to go up against that. Pittsburgh's very banged up. Malkin hasn't played in a while, and Letang's out for the whole playoffs. So they're going to go in with a thin defense, and he's not coming back. But they've had 30 games to play without him. But Pittsburgh's got two great goalies too, and Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray. Murray's going to get the start. I think Pittsburgh will find a way to win that series. The question is, how much does Columbus take out of them? Because you got a Brandon Dubinsky, a Scott Hartnell that are physical, a Jack Johnson. These guys are going to hit you. They're going to rough you up, and that's going to be a tough matchup. And then Columbus has got Seth Jones on the back end that I think is a special player, and I think he's going to be dominant in this league. He's still just a couple years into the league and still finding his way, and this is going to be his first playoffs with Columbus. But I think that they have some talent back there, and I don't know what going on with Zach Werenski. He got hurt by Ovechkin last Sunday, so we'll see where he is. But he's certainly been a special player for them. But, this is going to be a lot of inexperience for Columbus and some of these guys going in the playoffs where you've got Sidney Crosby, you've got Evgeny Malkin, Phil Kessel, you go down the list, Hornquist, Chris Kunitz. They just, in their goaltending, they got some experience there that I think Pittsburgh will just end up winning that series because of their experience, and then it'll be rematch time, hopefully.
Ooh. Toronto via Pittsburgh, perhaps through Montreal or New York. We shall see. It is the Stanley Cup playoffs. They do begin this week. We'll be following it, covering it, doing it, tweeting it, social mediaing it. And before I let you go, I know it's the end of a couple of eras here. Obviously, the Lindy Ruff era in Dallas. We talk about Black Monday in the NFL the day after the season ends. It's the first of several coaching changes that will be made, player changes, retirements. And then there's Joe Louis Arena in so many years. I mean, there's no more consistent franchise in the Detroit Red Wings and making the playoffs. It is sort of weird in the year that the Joe went away, the Red Wings went away kind of early and often, right?
Yeah, it's sad. Just so many great games in that
Whew.
building. I mean, I think the biggest one that comes to mind is probably the revenge game. And I guess it was 1997. After Claude Lemieux had taken Chris Draper's face out, it was really the first time that they would go up against Lemieux. The Red Wings had not won a cup. They were still itching for that first cup, and
Hockey Town.
yeah, in Hockey Town, and they ended up winning that game, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup, and they won the next year, beating the Caps in 4. And the other game that really sticks out to me in that barn was the night Sergei Fedorov put a 5 on Jim Carrey in 96-97, and sure enough, the Capitals missed the playoffs by a point, and that 5-goal game by Fedorov with the 5th coming in overtime ended up dooming the Caps and David Poile and changing the course of the franchise around here. And George McVie came in and was the general manager, and I'm not a big George fan. I think he did some good things, but I'm very happy that 3 years ago we brought in Barry Trotz and kept Brian McClellan around, and I really feel like this is the best Caps team ever. It's sad that Detroit's out, but they've got several cups.
Yeah, they got enough.
I don't know.
We
don't feel too bad for them, right?
Yeah, but I mean, a cool old arena that'll never. There's no arena I ever set foot in that was like Joe Louis Arena. It was very, very unique. It didn't look like the Capitol Center or any of the other arenas of that ilk or that era. And by the way, when the Joe Louis Arena opened in 1980, I learned this. Rush was the band. Rush was the first event at Joe Louis Arena. How about that?
Well, that's a great omen. That's a great hockey omen, and I know you and I are huge Rush fans. And
well, that's one more reason to go to Toronto is because Getty's there. If Getty's there, it's good.
Your buddy Getty, and just tell him, hey, look, Getty, we're going to take it to you, but have a couple beers and let's throw on a couple, Limelight or Spirit of the Radio, and let's just have some fun. But
that's the idea.
The Red Wings. Sunday night, I'm sure there were plenty of octopus on the ice, right? That's the tradition. Where did that start?
Of course.
Of course, it started back at the arena before that. I forget the name of the arena.
Cobo Arena.
Yeah, they used to play
Hall.
there, and that carried over to the Joe. And so the Red Wings have had an incredible run. And you think of all the great players, Steve Yzerman and Sergei Fedorov, those teams, and Nicholas Lidstrom. Just great era. It's sad that they missed the playoffs, but all those years of being at the top finally caught up with them. When you're not drafting at the top of the heap, and we got a salary cap now, and they can't go out and just buy players, it eventually caught up with them.
Joe Louis Arena is no more, and there'll be more coaching changes in the NHL. But what do we care? We're onward and upward into the playoffs. He is Ed Frankovic. You can find him at WNST.net, and, of course, out on Twitter on game nights. Caps and the Maple Leafs. Buckle up your chin strap, put your helmet on, get your mouthpiece ready, and get the sticks all ready, and get your beer, your pizza, your wings, whatever it is that's going to get you through the next weeks into June and a Stanley Cup run here. I am hoping for a very, very long itching of my calendar and maneuvering around things to make room for hockey because they're on a run. It's the best Caps team ever. We'll see if they can win the Cup. I know some of you are going to be naysayers, but I'm not going to have that. Not this week anyway. Be time for that later. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.